You're listening to The People's Pitch, the official podcast of Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by footballstadiumprints.com. Let's start the show.
And as I talked about just a couple minutes ago, as Joe Watt stands over this one, he appears to be the one taking the penalty here. This is a huge confidence booster if you're Duluth.
Worst case scenario for City right here.
And it stopped!
Yes!
And it stopped!
Totally redeems himself.
Matt Elder redeeming himself. Oliver with the right foot. The shot is goal!
Oliver!
Justin Oliver will break the scoreless tie. And it is 1-0 Minneapolis City. Is Hutton now on the offense with the left foot.
Goal!
And it is now 2-0 Minneapolis City.
Good finish.
Nick Hutton taking his quick victory lap.
This is your home for being technically at the top of the table. It is the People's Pitch podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club. As always, I'm your host, John, joined by the Nate Morales. Nate, did you survive the heat wave without any rashes and maybe some compromised areas?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get any rashes from the heat, if that answers your question.
Just friction rash?
Yeah, for sure. Hot weekend, man, but we did it.
Yeah, we got through it. You had a lot on your plate. You got through it. I'm proud of you. So we are riding high tonight with recaps of two big wins. The first against crosstown rivals St. Croix Legends in the Battle of the Bros, and the second against River Light FC. Then we'll take a look at the USL2 Heartland Division table before previewing our next match against Rochester FC.
That's right. Let's do this.
So the opening act is in this past week's Goal Fest, I guess we'll call it, was a visit from crosstown rivals St. Croix Legends. I like to call it, you call it the Battle of the Bros, but I like to call it maybe like the River Battle.
Okay.
You know, there was a chant from the citizens halfway through the game that was something about our river's better than your river, which I thought was pretty good. But going for the Crows in this border battle, I guess, or river battle, excuse me, or brother battle, whichever one you want to go with. In goal, Daniel Sessler, backline of Kent, Hecht, and Schragi, central pairing of Swallen, Schall, and Kirsch, with Morgan Olsen and Andrew Heckenleibel on the wings, and then Joe Highfield and Shea Bechtel up top. You had a bench of goalkeeper Jack Roach, Scotty Heinen, Curtis Wagner, Otis Anderson, Andy Mena, Tomas Mena, Ms. Harris, Joey Tawa, Preston Kipnusu getting a well-needed brief break from the action, logged a lot of minutes, doing some load balancing there, and then Bernard Asibi Rule.
Yeah, John, pretty, I don't know, the bench felt like there were more guys than we needed, but I think that probably had to
You can have
with
20 this year, but you can only play 18.
Oh, okay. So it's just kind of like, hey, these guys are available. Let's see who we need against St. Croix. And you never know, because St. Croix is stocked full of solid D3 players. And for years, I think they've kind of played out of their mind every time they line up against Minneapolis City, honestly. A little maybe above their level whenever they line up against us. And so I think, extra couple guys on the bench because you never know what you're going to get. You've got Justin against Tyler, maybe Justin throwing Tyler a little bit of a curveball, like harder to game plan for that many guys. Who knows? But it was true to tradition that Minneapolis City goes down early, gives up the goal to a turnover in a dangerous area, and it was just dogged play from St. Croix. And that ball was played to Liam Ireland, and he's able to put it past Sessler in a 1v1 situation. And in that moment, John, like this was 10 minutes into the game. Like it was
7.
So yeah, it was pretty early.
Yeah.
But I was still optimistic, like different than I have felt in the past 2 or 3 years, right? Especially once you get to like
on the
this
field
time.
Destroy us.
What's that?
There's no Nathan Donovan on the other side waiting to just destroy us.
Well, there's that, but I think also like, this time of year we got 3-4 games left, and it's like usually we're kind of like scrapping for points, like just praying to get some draws and some wins out of the back half of the season. But this year feels different. Like almost like the old days. And so I was confident. I felt confident, John, honestly, that we'd bounce back and take that one, even though we gave up the early goal.
Yeah, once that Liam Ireland goal went in after a bad giveaway from Hecht that should not have happened, in my opinion, I did start to get a little bit of a feeling, Nate, that despite one side I feel has more individual talent, I was a little bit worried it would be like one of those days where it would be hard work and tactics that overcame the Crows.
Mm-hmm.
But it took a little more time for the team to get right back in it and finally figuring out goalkeeper Quinn Millard, who had a fantastic day, was just doing everything he could to keep us out of the net, and is just a monster human being. I think the guy's like 9 feet tall. He was stellar in the net for the Legends in the first half, but then old Charlie Hustle, Shea Bechtel, just willed in a rebound goal after kind of a brief bout of City being all over the Legends in their half, and then I think the on-the-ball dominance of the Crows started to wear the Legends out. And the funny note was, like, after that goal went in, for some reason, Miller, like, picked up Bechtel's legs, like, in a wheelbarrow race. Not sure what was happening there.
I loved it. I thought, I mean, what did Dan say on the stream? He was just like, John, sometimes, you got all that action in front of you, you're just grabbing stuff.
Yeah, as a goalkeeper, you are,
Yep.
Like, I don't know if he knew it was in yet or what was going on.
Trying to get a hold of something.
Yeah, it was something happened there. But after the break, I think for me, Nate, the midfield once again was even more dominant. With the one change that I felt certainly for St. Croix, what moved some pieces around centrally, and that was the inclusion of Pascal Leatherman in the center of the field for the Legends. Yeah. And I thought he was an immediate contributor to the possession for them. Like they weren't really able to do anything but kind of try to bypass the press and transition quick through the long ball. And then it wasn't really working for them outside of the goal, but they just kept kind of going at it, and they weren't able to crack the code in the center. And that inability to go from inside out is what led to, in transition, Ian Shaw pressed Leatherman into a really bad giveaway in the defensive third, and he found Joe Highfield 25 yards out. The big striker just put all he had into a left-footed laser that Quinn Millard didn't really have a chance for. And then Nate, I was like, okay, this one's on the right foot. I have no more concerns.
Yeah, we were in good shape after that. And I'll say, John, that it was Daniel Sessler, I think, that really kept us in the game. When we were up 2-1, St. Croix was chasing that tying goal, and at that point, they could have had it, right? It was, tactics versus tactics. Sessler makes a brilliant point-blank save. He got in front of Asher Azuzu's first touch shot off of a cross. And, I mean, that's part luck, but that's a lot of skill. And that's the kind of, like, bang-bang play and save that you look at when you talk about a keeper being in form, right? Like the fact that he was able to make that save, be in the right position, head on a swivel, got his hands up, like phenomenal work. And that's how you know, like, Sessler's feeling it.
Yeah, I think all of our keepers have been relatively good this season, whether it's Roach or Meyer or Sessler. But I think we're starting to see Sessler separate himself from the pack a little bit. Yep. And I do feel like each one of them brings something different. Like, I think Jack Roach's distribution is like A+ level. I mean, like he can spray a ball with it, with the throw, with his feet. Really impressed there. But I think what Sessler is bringing is the veteran, been here, done it before confidence in himself. And I think that the back line is feeding off that as well. And I think there's a really good connection there. As far as the rest of the game goes, the final goal came from second half substitute Preston Kipnusu, who did what he does best, getting on the other end of a service from out wide. He nods it home. It's 3-1, and our river is better than their river, Nate. But if I'm wrapping this one up, overall for me, this was a game that was won in the middle of the field. Player to watch on the night, Jake Swallen, was just fantastic. I mean, I don't know if we have seen a performance before from a central midfielder, a deep lying central midfielder in quite some time. And it's not to disrespect the guys that have been playing that position for the past couple of years. He just is another level. Then you toss in Ian Shaw, who's starting to, I think, really assert himself in this team. And then Jackson Kirsch has been everywhere, and that trio's been excellent. Without the individual brilliance of Joe Highfield getting the assist on the Bechtel goal, scoring his own, any one of all of them could have been the top performer of the day. So this one was a statement win, but also one, for the dinner table bragging rights that will haunt a few of the brothers on the other side that were involved for a couple weeks.
Yeah, I agree, John. And after their second win in a row, what looked to be kind of a settled roster, right? Like you said, you got Swallen, Shaw, Kirsch in the middle, feeling good. It felt like City was really heating up. And so too did the weekend as we welcomed River Light FC to a Sunday night game played in 90 plus degree heat. I can only imagine how it felt on the turf.
Well, game. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, the game was originally scheduled for 2 p.m. and we know it was like 101 degrees at 2 p.m. So,
yeah.
Really good job of moving that. But then what that did is it actually put us up against River Light women versus Minnesota Aurora. So, there was that. So the Heartland division for both men's and women's side were put against each other, which we try to avoid. But, that's what happened because we had to play at night because it was too hot during the day.
Hell yeah. And luckily for us, River Light was traveling light, and that gave us the upper hand.
Yeah, I mean, they came with only 15 players, including 2 goalkeepers, which they would need ultimately in the end. But the heat was really it for me. And coming off of a match where you're traveling light, they came off a match against RKC where I feel they were on the wrong end of a weird play that saw River Light draw and most surely knocked them out of the playoff contention. You kind of felt that with that heat and a full bench for City, the Gene party, all the things that before the first whistle, River Light was a little bit behind the 8 ball, Nate.
Yeah, and they never really looked. Well, I think so too. Like when you think about traveling and how hard it is for us when we travel with a full squad, like it's difficult even to go to Chicago Dutch Lions. It was difficult this year to go to River Light and squeak out that result. So when you're shorthanded, like we know, you and I know all too well what that looks like from back in the day when we would travel with the team when they were shorthanded.
Yeah, and one note before we get into the starting lineup, Morgan Olsen came down sick, so like he would have been another player either starting or coming off the bench. So like we had another one who we could have thrown out there who has been having a great season as well. But as far as who went for the Crows, it was Sessler again in the goal. Your back line was unchanged of Schragi, Kent, and Hecht. Your midfield was unchanged centrally with Shaw, Swallen, and Kirsch. Heckenleibel got the start over Olsen, who was not able to play. Bechtel moves out wide, and then Kipnus is inserted into the starting lineup, and you have your Twin Towers with him and Joe Highfield. And then from a bench perspective, a lot of the same names you saw against against St. Croix: Jack Roach, Ms. Harris, Tomas Mena, Joey Tawa, Bernard, Otis Anderson, Ondi Mena, and Curtis Wagner. This time for me, it was City who had the foot on the gas right away. And how many times have we not been that team, Nate? So it was really, really good to see that the Crows took the lead after about 30 minutes of heat slowed soccer. And what I mean by that was you could tell that like the bounces were just kind of, a ball bouncing one time in more of like a heated contest. When I say heated, more of like a competitive contest. That ball doesn't bounce a second or third time. Someone's there. And this time it was like the ball bounced 2, 3, 4 times. And then finally one guy would like trot his way over there. Everyone was like in quicksand a little bit, in my opinion.
Totally.
But it was Andrew Heckenleibel who turned up the tempo, dribbling past his defender and cutting a pass into Joe Highfield, who took like a fantastic, in my opinion, necessary first touch to freeze the goalkeeper and then slots it home in the bottom corner. And we're up 1-0.
Yeah, I liked that touch too. When I was watching the replay on social media, there's a nice video of it in reels and stories on Instagram, and just a nice little outside the foot touch to settle it onto his right foot. and he was able to drill it. And like you said, kind of froze the keeper. All of a sudden, it's on its dominant foot. He could have gone to either side of the net with it, and he just rolled it into the bottom right. So that was nice. And River Light never really looked dangerous in this match to me. Like, there was a little hiccup on a corner that led to a loose ball that was kind of like bouncing around in the box, and the Crows were unlucky to have Ryu from Street Fighter pounce on it to poke it past Sessler. But other than that, man, the Crows controlled the game, and that became evident once the subs started coming on and the goals started pouring in.
Yeah, after that Ryu goal, you could tell it kind of pissed off the team, and they started to amp things up and reassert their dominance. Starting off with Bechtel doing his workmanlike routine, willing himself on the other end of a flicked ball by Joe Highfield at the back post. That leads to a goal. And I think it took the air out of River Light at that point. They had to make a goalkeeper substitution because the goalkeeper got injured on that play.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, they did. And as they started to press and try to get back in this one, it just backfired on them. Kipnusu found what he seems to find each week, Nate, is a well-placed header from his Drake teammate, Jackson Kirsch, off of a corner kick. I think he scored 3 or 4 of those.
Yeah.
And then Bernardo Rule, getting on the score sheet for the first time in quite some time, sealed the victory with the game's final tally after making a really nice run that saw him with acres of space on the left wing. And if you watch the clip back, I was like, the only thing that he can't do is have a negative first touch. He did not. Very positive first touch. Cuts his defender, 5 holes, a substitute goalkeeper, and then the Crows were feeling themselves, Nate, in the second half of this Heartland Conference season.
They were, and yeah, John, again, like it's super exciting to see all of these goals, and but I think it's really refreshing to have that level of offense available. I think it's been a long time. I mean, we said it, like we've never had 2 guys over 6 feet at the striker position, and we've now got 2 and a backup in Jared Hecht, really.
And Sully Twill. We forgot to mention.
And then Sully Twill makes his home debut, right? And he was looking good. Yep. Midfielder, like the midfield trio of Swallen, Shaw, and Kirsch is phenomenal. And on the wings, you can get Heckenlabel, you can get Olsen, you can get Bechtel. There's so many great options there as well. CB Rule, who scored. So, that is super fun to watch, and it brings a level of confidence and expectation to each game now in towards the positive. But like, I gotta give it to Sessler. Daniel Sessler has been really fun to watch, and after putting in the time last year with the U19s, he really deserves these moments. And like you said, John, I think he is separating himself a little bit from the rest of the goalkeeper corner just by giving the team the consistency that they need.
Yeah, I mean, there are guys all over this roster that have been bright spots. Nate, you talked about Sessler from a goalkeeping perspective. Schragi from in the back line, just always in the right place at the right time, snuffing out counterattacks, really smart on the ball. The central trio you mentioned. Really, every player who goes in up top is causing problems. Tomas Menes hasn't been on a score sheet, but he comes in at really important moments for this team and provides a spark, whether it's defending from a forward position, tracking back, or he's put into a game to be the disruptor on the offensive end, and his partners are the ones that are scoring.
Yep.
But for me, the past game was, in my opinion, the best of the season for Andrew Heckenlabel. He started off slow. The first couple games this season, I think he was probably trying to find himself in the setup, in the roster, getting in his new living situation here in the cities for the summer. He was dropped from the away trip to Sueño, and I think he's defended well. But against St. Croix, he was just slow to transition from defense into the attack. And oftentimes you saw whether it was one of the strikers who dropped deep and turned to look for a winger, and he was like 10 to 15 yards behind the play. And it was like, man, if you can just be a little quicker in that transition and get forward, like you'll have opportunities. And in this game, like complete opposite. And I'm like, holy cow, like you choose the hottest day of the year to work the hardest. Like that's a little interesting.
Yeah.
but he was 10 to 15 yards closer to the goal, in better spots in the attack, beating his player one-on-one. I think he probably could have found himself a goal, kind of got caught in between a pass and a shot idea, and then ultimately the defender kind of caught up with him. But just really, really good game from Heckenleibel. And that's the player that I think we need, that complements the attack of Olsen or Bechtel, who we have on the opposite side. So I'm really looking forward to him kind of stacking this game on top of the next game on top of this one, and continuing that type of performance.
Yeah, I like calling out Heckenleibel, and I think that you're right. He had a good chance at a goal. I don't know. It feels like so far this season he has always been, that guy that is willing to run right at the defense. His defense has been good, but I think it is like what does he do with the ball once he gets into dangerous areas? And this is the game where it seemed to have clicked. So that's great for him.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
And that's 3 wins in a row, John. And those 3 wins in a row, coupled with maybe some stumbles from the likes of RKC, who forfeited a game against Chicago Dutch Lions for an illegal substitution, which is pretty awesome. And Rochester, of course, stumbling lately too against us. That's put City in some territory that we have not been in since 2021, John. And that is so refreshing. Like, we are a winning team. We are in first place in our division, and it feels like the old Minneapolis City again.
It does. I mean, Sueño has a game in hand, but we'll take it. Mm-hmm. Sitting on 17 points, they're on 16. But it feels like the process and the plan that Oliver and Flintham put down on paper when they were thrust into their roles during the season last year had a great recruiting job by them and Casey Holm. Mix in some guys who are familiar with their style, and then some straight up studs. And we're finally back to what we're used to around here after some years of trying to figure it out and how to compete at the USL2 level. It's just a different level. They're hitting their stride at the absolute right time, but it's a super tight division, and every game, in my opinion, obviously you want to win every game, but every game now is a must pick up points.
Yeah. So you mentioned that Sueño has a game in hand against us. They've only got 16 points to our 17. But they have played 7 games to our 8. We are 5 wins, 1 loss, and 2 draws. They're 5 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. But here's the difference. Our goals for, thanks to these last 2 games in this offensive explosion, 22 goals for to Sueño's 16. So it's feeling good. It's looking good. And if we can catch up to them and stay on top consistently, even if they do tie, we're in good shape. But behind us, John, in second place is Rochester in third. They are breathing down our necks. 15 points with 8 games played, 5 wins, 3 losses, no draws. So they're still dangerous, and they could still do some damage in this season if they start winning again. RKC Third Coast, who you and I had picked to be the runaway division champions. Yeah. They've got 15 points as well, but they've got 9 games played. So they've played 2 more games than Sueño. Going to be tough to catch Sueño for them. They've got 4 wins, 2 losses, and 3 draws. One of the losses, as I mentioned, is a forfeit due to some rule breaking. And then in 5th, 6th, and 7th place, it's River Light, St. Croix Legends, and the Dutch Lions, who have 3 points this year, the most points they've had in the last 2 years. Good for them.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Like, we talked initially when the division realignment came out, and we were like, River Light had a good year last year in a really tough division, and we know who RKC is and who they can bring in. We kind of put those 2 as the ones that we're going to have to hunt, and then we'll talk about a surprise in the table this season. But then Sueño, we didn't know anything about them, and come to find out they're chock full of absolute Big Ten ballers on their team. So I mean, it's so tight, but it makes it fun, doesn't it?
It does make it fun, and it's like, not only is it fun because we're winning, but it's fun because it's not automatic, and you really don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So coming up next, John, we've got 4 to go. So what does this mean for us? We've got Rochester, we've got RKC away, St. Croix away, and Sueño at home. So we've got of the 3 teams that could compete to knock us off of our spot in second place, we're playing all of them, right? Which is kind of intimidating at the end of to do at the end of the season. But at the same time, like, if we can get points against Rochester, if we can somehow steal points at RKC away, just like we did at the start of the season when we drew them, like St. Croix, we saw what they can do. We saw what we can do against them. I'm pretty confident about that game. Then it's just a matter of our season finale at home against Sueño, potentially for first place in the Heartland Division.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
I mean, like I said, feels like the old days with City, when we were competing for division titles or conference titles year in and year out, and I love it.
Yeah, man, I don't have anything more to add to that. I love it just as much, maybe if not more than you do.
You do more than me. You're just up next for the Crows, John, is a game that, like I said, it could mean everything for both teams. If the Crows are going to welcome Rochester FC on Friday, and with the other Loons chasing our potential playoff spot, I have to think that they're going to come out swinging here. They played us toe-to-toe in the reverse fixture, and they took RKC down to the wire too before giving up a late goal in that one too. So they do have some ability to take a game. It's just a matter of, can they play the full 90 and close it out anymore?
I mean, they have some really, really good players, Nate, but I kind of feel like this is the story we've seen from Rochester teams outside of last season for years. They have the horses to run the race, but there's a turning point for whatever reason in their seasons where cracks form in the foundation, and then they widen to close out the year, and then it's like there's a sense of disappointment with them. And they came out so hot. They were a complete surprise.
That's true.
Our division.
Yeah. And, that was kind of my question that I had for you coming up here, John, is, they have proven themselves so far this summer to be dangerous on the attack. They've averaged just about 2 goals a game, which is pretty solid, but it really had been their defense that until recently put them in contention. In their opening 5 games, they only gave up like 1 goal or less per game. They got 2 shutouts, but since then they've given up 2 goals, and now 3 goals. So I'm wondering, and you kind of answered this already, but like, is this just a case of a season wearing on, or maybe the division has kind of figured them out? Like you said, maybe they're just kind of out of gas, or the players aren't as sharp as the summer moves on.
I think it's internally. Something's going on internally, to be honest. Like whatever's going on down there is a mystery to me, because on paper they should have kept the surprise season going, but it has not. And I don't know much more than that. And there's not much time left in the season to right the ship. And it does not help that they're coming to Edor Nelson Field on Friday to face a team that is trending in the absolute opposite direction.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. Like, it's the same players, but something has to be amiss, because they kind of stepped real close to the edge when they were in the parking lot.
Well, they, if they should pull off the victory, they would overtake us in second place. If we win, we're 5 points clear of them, and 5 points clear of anyone that would be looking to take our second place spot. So this is must win for us, and I suppose maybe the rest of the games on the way to the end of the season kind of are too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this game is Friday night, 7 p.m., Edor Nelson Field. Tickets are available at mplscitysc.com. The weather is sure to be way much better. The vibes definitely higher. So let's get out there and cheer on the Crows for another win.
Yeah, that's right. And that'll do it for this week's show. Big ups, as always, to our longtime sponsor, footballstadiumprints.com. You got to hit up their site for awesome prints, all soccer related, whether it's the stadiums that he has created from Edor Nelson Field all the way to like obscure stadiums in Scotland, the Hedge, all the way to gear, soccer focused t-shirts. You get one with Matt Elder, you get one with John Bisworm, you can get one with Pirlo. 3 guys that deserve their faces on t-shirts. And don't forget to use code CROWS10 for 10% off. And remember, Minneapolis City is a 501c3, so your ticket purchase or your membership, it's not just supporting soccer, it is helping a community-focused club that does things the right way. Hey, if you want to reach out to us, you can always, of course, find us on Twitter X at The People's Pitch. Honestly, I never log into that website anymore except to like our game day posts. But you can find us on Instagram at People's Pitch Podcast or email us at mcscpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, follow the club if you don't already at MPLS City SC. All right, well, next week, we're going to have a recap of that Rochester match as well as a look forward to a couple of key road games for your Crows. And we'll give you a little Minnesota Super Cup update, as we'll know by then who we play in the semifinals. But until then,
you got hoof.
You got hoof.